Hi everyone, it's Maria and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing one of my favorite videos of the month, or my October wrap-up, and at the end I will be pulling out of my November TBR Jar Picks, so make sure you stay till the end of the video. And if you're into romantasy, indie fantasy or spicy book recommendations, you are going to love this one. October was actually really wild for me. I went to Frankfurt Book Fair and to Munich to see Tahereh Mafi, the author of Shatter Me series. And also I have seen SenLinYu, the author of Alchemised, the best book of this year so far probably, and somehow squeezed in 19 books between arcs, audiobooks and physical reads. In this video, I will share 6 books that define my October, one that completely surprised me and one that has left me completely conflicted, plus everything waiting in my TBR jar for November. So grab a tea or coffee and let's talk about all the bookish chaos October has brought. October was a lot, in the best way possible, but also it was pretty chaotic. It's always one of my most busiest months of the year, and this year has definitely lived up to that. It was my 3rd year on the Frankfurt Book Fair, which already makes the month feel like a whirlwind because you spent a whole week communicating with authors and running between the stands to find these perfect books and sign all of them. But I also did a quick trip to Munich a week before, and there I got to meet and get my Shatter Me copy signed by Tahereh Mafi. Here is the video, and you can also check my shots. It was a total dream fun moment of my life. And then at the fair I have seen SenLinYu. Are you kidding me? The author of Alchemised. Here are my photos, and it was my absolutely favorite book of the year so far, and I was just dying morally that I could grab a ticket and see her in real life and sign my book. I think I stood there, was completely speechless, and I couldn't believe that this is my real life. So between all the traveling, the fair, the concerts, a lot of ARC deadlines, which I still had, October was packed till the brink, but somehow I still managed to read 19 books in total, including I think around 4 or 5 audiobooks and 2 physical reads. Some of them were ARCs and the rest were Kindle Unlimited reads. I don't know how I survived October, but somehow I did. So let's get into it, and here are 6 reads that completely defined my October, and make sure to stay till the end because I will be revealing my November TBR Jar Picks we will choose together, and trust me, they should be a good one. I hope so. Oh, and if you love romantasy, indie reads and monthly wrap-ups like this one, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Starting strong with one of my 6-star reads of October, which was Clash of Claws by Elizabeth Dare. This was everything I wanted into Rewitched romantasy, academy setting, fierce FMC, fated mates, and animal shifters. Avery, our heroine, is basically that girl who refuses to play by anyone's rules. She walks into the Shifter Guardians Academy and instantly shakes the system and the men in it. I really adored the slow burn here, the politics, and especially Elijah with his pet snake. And he is broody, he is dirty talking, and it was just an amazing read. So if you love strong heroines and academic chaos and the white shoes, this book deserves a top spot on your TBR for sure. It was one of those stories that reminded me why I fell in love with white shoes romantasy, to be honest. And let's take a minute and talk about another seriously that completely took over my brain in this autumn, and actually in September and October. How Vicious Beasts by E.P. Bali. For every Bonds That Tie fan, this is a must to have on your TBR. I started with book 0, and right from that prologue I knew this was gonna be my next obsession. 5 stars, no question. Aurelia Olia is a fascinating FMC. She is rare, powerful, and absolutely reckless in the best way possible. The world instantly pulls you in, and the dual narration of the audiobook, it was so perfect. I was so immersed. I cannot believe this audiobook series is still not fully finished. There are more books right now existing as EPUB as audiobooks, sadly, and I can't wait to listen to the next audiobook. So when the book 1 dropped me into full chaos, she ends up in this reform school with 3 of her mates, and she is still holding her ground and refusing to trust anyone. She's the most stubborn VMC I have literally read in ages, but it made her so likable. Savage, her werewolf mate, completely stole the spotlight in some of the books. He is feral and protective and unhinged in the most magnetic way. By book 2, I was completely gone. The series has the same addictive energy as the bonds that tie, long books, massive emotions, and impossible to stop once you start. Aurelia grows even more independent and protective, and the story just keeps layering. Shifters, Why Choose, Fated Mates, Enemies to Lovers, and Shadow Mates. I loved all of it, and the last 10% of book 2 were absolutely gorgeous. I'm currently 30% in book 3, and honestly, these audiobooks are so chunky, but I can't get enough. It's one of those you just don't want to leave the world from. Speaking of stories that kept me intrigued but didn't quite hit the same high, let's talk about Spellcaster. I have seen this book everywhere in October, and it was a mixed bag for me personally. I decided to do it as an audiobook, and honestly, the dude narration always gets to me. I finish it probably just because the dude narration exists at all. The story has everything: witchers, monsters, enemies to lovers, but 70% of the time, and I'm not kidding here, VMC was just busy thinking and talking with everybody around how hot the MMC is. Like, literally, it's the only thing she was talking about. She was whining about him, and I kept waiting for more plot, more tension, but it never quite hit the peak for me. So still, if you're into Dark Academy setting and that witchy vibe, it was a good autumnal listen, just not super special to me, sadly. The next book 4 I want to give a spotlight for in my TBR, actually advanced reader copy of the book Pretty Vicious by Lexi Davis, which will come out in January, so put it on your TBR. It was exactly the book of Dark Academy I crave, and it's also a dark romance. So Laurel is just trying to survive college when she accidentally ends up in the secret society, and on the radar of its ruthless reader was Carson. So their dynamic is explosive. Carson is very much touch her and die MMC. Just from the first scene they see each other, I lived for their attention. It was a very dark, intense, and beautifully written story. So if you like your romance very dark and unhinged and your MMC super morally grey, this one is a must to have on your TBR. Next one is the next 6-star read of October. I would even call it 6+ infinity star read of October. I finished this one, and the last 10% of this audiobook, just absolutely chaos. It of course was Bones of Hercules by Jasmine Mafi. I was sitting there clutching my headphones and whispering, no way, no freaking way. Jasmine completely blew me away with the take she did on this story. I binged the audiobook in about 24 hours on the train way, actually from Munich to home. It's exactly released on that day, and I just couldn't stop. Alexis, our heroine, just kept surprising me. She's clever, bold, and by this point, one of my favorite VMCs probably this year. Book 2 picks up right where the first left off. Alexis is with her parents Persephone and Hades, training to prove she deserves to be a goddess, but everyone thinks she's just recovering from her marriage to her scheming husband. But secretly, she's plotting, and when those plans finally come to light, I was gasping. I expected this actually to stay a full witches romantasy because Jasmine Mans usually leans that way, and all her other books were white chooses, but this book actually shifts into more of an MFM dynamic. It worked for me anyways, but the emotional intensity and constant twists made it feel even more unpredictable. We also get so much more about her husbands and mentors, Hercules and Patra, and the final reveal with the new character, which I didn't see coming, but it fit perfectly into this bigger mythological picture. It's fast-paced, emotional, and very plot-heavy, with only one well-paced spicy scene near the end of the book. The cliffhanger sets up the next book so perfectly, but I don't want to spoiler. There were already tropes mentioned and I'm screaming for them. I know it's going to wreck me in the best way possible. And speaking of the racket, the next book definitely left me feeling a little conflicted. Let's talk about Once Upon a Demon's Heart. Next up is Once Upon a Demon's Heart. I gave this book 3.5 stars. I listened to this actually as an audiobook, and actually the narration was really good. It kept me engaged the whole way through. The story follows Alira, a demigod knight who agrees to marry a demon, Duke Khalil, to prevent a war in her kingdom. It's got all the tropes: romantasy, enemies to lovers, marriage of convenience. I love it. Lighter megaverse, and the setup had me super excited. But then, like 5% in, or maybe even 10, we are jumping straight into the spies. Like, there was no build up. They go from enemies to constant hit scenes within the first few chapters, and I was sitting there like, wait, where is the enemy spot in here? Where is the slow burn I signed up for? Where is it? Where are enemies? They're not enemies per se. Yeah, it's definitely a steamy book, but it lost some emotional depth I hoped for. Still, the ending left me hanging and intrigued me enough to continue the series. I will wait when Kia Maranova publishes the second book and decide if this series, I don't know if it's Zolodia or not, is worth it at all. Quick shout outs to a few more October reads that spiced things up. It was actually a series called The Female by Invi Wright, and I have recently finished it on the third book on Kindle and sadly got disappointed. It started really strong in this book. It's Why Choose Paranormal, Fated Mates, dark romance, very dark fantasy, and it got really flat by the book 3, and I don't know why, but it just flattened out by book 3, and nothing can convince me that this book series is worth 3 stars, sadly. Started really strong, but finished, I don't want to even say how bad. Also, I have read the most awesome book ever, Rewitched, which probably most of you have read too. It was 1.5 stars for me. I think I'm not a cozy fantasy reader at all, but overall, October was a strong reading month for me, full of audiobooks, and I love them all, arcs and romantasy goodness. So let's now decide for my November TBR Jar Picks. Because I'm the biggest mood reader ever, I offer we take out like 5 out of them, and I will present these best 5 reads in the next video, and then add if there is anything other than these 5 stars which I would read, which will be my highlights of November. Here is the TBR jar. Prompt number 1. It's sequel I keep ignoring. That's a good question. I would say it will be sequel I keep ignoring. It's the last book I think in this series, called What Lurks Between the Fates by Harper L. Woods. It will be book 1 I will read for as November TBR. It's Flesh and Bone series book 3. I have read the first 2. I don't remember them fully, but I will recap my notes and we'll read book 3. That's book number 1. Let's choose book number 2. A book where hero is morally grey. Yay! There are so many of these books on these shelves, and let's say honestly I have not read 90% of my shelves, so let's figure it out. I actually researched and I'm not sure if I could choose anything from my shelves in here, because either they are not fully morally grey, or I have read the series which are instant moral grey connection and not just pretending to be morally grey. So I just did a quick research and I will choose Reign of Shadows and Endings by Melissa Rory. I heard that it's all morally grey. Definitely have seen this book and have it on my digital TBR. Let's read it. Book number 3. My favorite. A Book with Fated Mates. That will be an easy one, I think. It definitely has taken me very long to choose because I'm not in a very good way of choosing series, but The Book with the Fated Mates will be the first book in the series of The Trial of the Sun Queen. This is the Fairyloot edition, and let's see if I finish the series. This is book number 3. Book number 4. A book with stunning sprayed edges. Which probably all of them are, but I have one in particular I want to read. and it's Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. The book probably everybody has read except me. I definitely want to give it a try. This is book number 4 from the TBR of November. Let's choose the 5th one. Book number 5 would be Arc from NetGalley. And it's a really good thing because I have so many arcs in there and they're so freaking good. Let's choose together. I think I have like 12 options in there, but I'd rather would prefer to read what I've got super recently. Here are my choices. And I'm choosing A Dark Forgetting by Kristen Cicarelli. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. That will now premiere as a republishing of her oldest books. And I'm super interested to know where it's going. So we are definitely choosing The Dark Forgetting. Dark Forgetting it is as book number 5 for November. I will share my full TBR on shots next week, so make sure you're subscribed and have the bell on. You don't want to miss it. That was my October wrap-up and November TBR Jar Picks. Let me know in the comments which of these books have you read already or which one you're adding to your TBR right now. If you want more romantasy chaos, I'm posting shots every few days, including my Bookstagram Grow series and my Alchemised review series, so definitely check those out after this. Thank you so much for watching my October reading wrap-up and November TBR Jar Picks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me next week for another romantasy book recommendations video. Until then, happy reading and see you.